G'day expats and welcome to another episode of Expat Chat, episode 118 today. And today we're going to be talking about why you need to respond to your bank when they ask you for details about your identification. As always, every week, joined by my mate, colleague, guru from the Gold Coast and managing director for the Asia Pac region, Mr. James Ridley. G'day, mate.
G'day, Brad, and those who are tuning in today via your chosen podcast channel or YouTube, the person above me or to the right or the left, however this Zoom screen works. Yeah.
It's like the Brady Bunch, isn't it?
That's right. Welcoming Managing Director for the EMEA region, Brett Evans, who is in the sandpit. Brett, how's it all going?
We're getting very close to the end of financial year, aren't we? So by the time this episode goes out, it probably will be the end of financial year. But
that's right.
It's just a bit of housekeeping for folks out there. You know, if your advisor, accountant is reaching out to get stuff done before pre-30 June, please do it. There's nothing worse than getting an email on the 29th of June from a client saying, I need to do this, I need to do that. A, they've got the time zone difference. B, they've got the geographical distance. Very rarely can they achieve what they need to achieve. So heed those emails, heed those recommendations because they're in your best interest. Well, mate, they should be anyway. But
that's right.
Mate, today we're obviously going to run through what we like to call in the industry KYC, know your client rules, AML, anti-money rules, CTF, counter-terrorism financing rules, all these acronyms, which people look at the stuff people look at this stuff going, not for me, not my bag. And we're just going to sort of explain why you need to do the right thing by the banks, even though you might think it's ridiculous. But let's get the disclaimer out of the way. All the information that we're about to talk to you guys today and girls is for informational purposes only. Do not treat this as personal advice. If you do need to seek personal advice, speak to a specialist like Atlas.
Absolutely. And KYC, AML, CTF, I mean, very, very important. And most of our listeners would have done something related to KYC, whether you're opening up a bank account, you're opening up an investment account, a transaction account, something financial, I guess you could say. There would have been a form, a link, something where you've had to give your personal details and maybe sign off a form, whatever it might be, even down to maybe using, say, an old Queensland license or a passport and entering the details so that platform can verify who you are and link that to your tax file number and know what's going on in your life, those sort of things. All these different data points, which are really, really important, you would have already done, our listeners would have done it at some point already in their lives.
And it's all about digital footprint these days and throwing out another acronym out there. The Common Reporting Standard has meant that 150 plus territories and countries now have to share data with each other legally. And that includes all the hotspots, excluding the United States. They've got their own one called FATCA. So for the folks in the US on the call, you know exactly what I'm talking about there. But even places like Bermuda, BVI, Panama, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, they're all sharing your data with the ATO. UAE, Russia, China, same. So what's happened now is, and what the reason for the topic on the podcast is essentially we've had a number of clients have their accounts frozen by their banks in Australia. And the reason being is the banks have reached out to them to say, hey, we know you're a client because obviously we're reaching out to you. We need to verify your information. And a lot of people have been A, ignoring these emails or B, treating them as spam. And what's happened is these clients have been locked out of their accounts. We've been able to fix it pretty quickly. Client calls up the bank and goes through the process of verifying and stuff, and then the account's unfrozen. But when this happens, normally it's at the wrong time. So one of these clients was actually doing a property settlement, need to get that cash to do it, and couldn't do it. So there's a bit of a hurried activity in the background to try and get that fixed up, which we're able to do. But if you do see an email from a bank, what you need to do is verify it in three ways. A, hover your mouse over the email just to make sure it is anz.com or nab.com or combank.com or cba.com before you click any links. 9 times out of 10, and this is what I've done personally, I'll bank with the CBA, and the CBA actually did this with me early this month. When I got an email from the CBA saying, hey, we need to update your details, and people are probably going, but they've got my details. I've been a CBA or a NAB customer for 20 years. Well, who I am. I've been banking with you since I had a Dolomite account, at school. And that is correct, but they do need to refresh that data. They do need to update that data. So if your driver's license they had on file expired 12 years ago, yes, you're still the same person, but from a legal point of view, they have a legal obligation to keep up-to-date data on that file.
That's
So
right.
if you do receive an email that says, hey, you need to update your details, click this link. Obviously, since Optus and Medibank Private and all those data breaches, everyone's very nervous about that stuff, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
One thing I found was, and going through my own personal circumstance, was when I got that email, I jumped on the CommBank app in my case,
Yep.
and there was actually a notification there saying I had to do it anyway. So
Yeah.
I didn't have to click a link. I didn't have to do this. If you are nervous about clicking the link, because some people don't have a technical acumen to work out whether the link's valid or not, give your bank a call. I know it's a pain in the ass living overseas. I live this. Everyone lives this experience on a daily basis. It's a pain, but what's a bigger pain is having your account frozen and not being able to get access to your funds. So whether it's on debits or credits. So, when you go through this process, and it's going to get worse, folks, the world's getting very small digitally. Everyone needs to know what your favorite color is and your dog's name, your DNA, what color eyes do you have. You can disagree with it all you want, but there's a ground shift movement towards this, transparency from a data point of view, and you have to embrace it. The banks obviously do their best to, and they've done a good job. They have a legal obligation to report data breaches, and there's been no reports, which is good. So if you're going to give someone this information, you need to give it to them. But just be careful, because also the spammers and the hackers also know these emails are going out. So they're trying to fly in the same radar. So for every 10 emails you get, probably one's legit. The other 9 are dodgy. But certainly you do need to address this. You do need to action this, because the banks will just go, well, legally, we've reached out. You haven't engaged us. We're just going to freeze your account.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And practicing, I suppose, safe cyber security there, where you're actually calling the bank, and not even if you're very suspicious of that email that you've been sent there, and there's even a number there, go and verify that contact number by getting on the CBA website and looking up your international or overseas number, because sometimes that's how clever these scams or schemes can be. They'll have a dedicated support person, which is part of the scam, to get details out of you. So, and remember, they're going to ask you for all your personal details to verify you, and they're just going to take notes and then go, great, we've got everything we need. Now we can go and access their net bank details. It is something that pops up every couple of years with the KYC, and it doesn't just happen to expats. I've had it happen to me personally. I bank with CBA. All my personal accounts are fine, but one of my discretionary trust accounts for some reason wasn't coming up, and they just said, oh, we need you to verify yourself. It's like, well, you've got all my personal bank accounts. I use them every day. It's like, oh, it doesn't matter. You need to come into the branch. I'm going, this is just shit ridiculous, but okay. But so some of their systems and process often don't make sense, but KYC and verifying yourself every couple of years with the bank of choice that you use, that's a regulatory and a legal requirement. So that's why they're reaching out. And if you leave it to the last minute, Murphy's Law kick in, and when you need the funds or the bank the most, you're not going to be able to access them. So take that time, 5 minutes, get it done, clear it off your desk, clear it off your life admin plate. That way you never have to be worried about it sort of going against you.
Yeah. When you're having your morning coffee, just do it then. That tends to be a time that you're not highly productive in terms of work or personal life. It's your time. Unfortunately, you do have to give a bit of that time just to do this, because one of the cases that happened to us was a client trying to settle on a property transaction, and we've been money around, and luckily it was all fixed, but there was a good chance that the property transaction was going to fail because they couldn't get the funds. So ANZ was blocking both all debits and all credits, so the account was just stuck there. So you guys need to pay attention to this. It's going to happen more and more, but be cybersecurity safe, as James said. Go through. If you don't trust the email, a criminal can't intercept a phone call to a legitimate bank. In terms of as much as you see on the movies, I know they do it in the movies all the time, but generally speaking, we're not talking those sort of criminals. You need to call the number on the app or call the number on the website from the overseas number, and just say, "Hey, I got this email. Is it legitimate?" And I'll go, "Yep, it is. Please, give us these details," and then off you go from there. Obviously, sometimes it's a bit of a wait to get on the to speak to someone, but once you're there, it's a 5 or 10 minute exercise. It's pretty quick.
That's right. And I'll say this, some platforms are now leaning a lot more on, a lot heavier on their online chats,
Yeah.
and e-chats. I know Macquarie are. Macquarie, they've got sort of a system there which is authenticated, where you can actually talk to someone online and they'll verify you as well, and that way they can just go back and forth really quickly rather than you having to call and maybe wait online,
Yeah.
wait on hold, I should say. So some systems are getting a lot better and quicker. I know it's a pain, but you need to do it. Sometimes they link KYC also to tax identification information, where if they know you're overseas, haven't heard from you, go, oh, we've got savings here. We know we probably should have been withholding some sort of tax on the interest income. They'll link it to that as an excuse to identify where you are in the world, what your tax identification number is, your TIN or your TFN equivalent. So that way they can update everything all in one go and bundle it all.
And that leads me on to my second point I was going to make too, the TIN. For those folks in Singapore and Hong Kong and New York and London, everyone's got tax file numbers there, so that's not an issue. For those folks in the Middle East where we don't have TINs, I had a client yesterday talk to me about they couldn't get something done through, I think it was Bank West, because they couldn't provide a TIN. And the Bank West person didn't believe that there was no TINs in Saudi Arabia. So normally when you're doing a check, there's three options to choose. Option A, here's my TIN from a foreign country. Option B is the foreign country doesn't actually issue TINs. So you want to have option B as that select. Option C is you have a TIN, but you don't want to disclose it. So obviously option B is applicable for those folks in the Middle East. And just do it. If you don't do it, it's not going to affect anyone else but you. So it's important that you sort of attend to these things and tick those boxes, because otherwise, you might come to buy holiday flights or pay for a property or pay school fees or rent or whatever it is, and you find you get access to the money. And then when that happens, normally it's a critical moment time-wise from a time frame point of view. And then you have to get on the call, and Murphy's Law says that's going to be a 2-hour wait on the phone call, and everything's going to exacerbate from there. So if you have received this email from banks, just do it.
Yep, absolutely. Don't drag it out. Just do it. Clear it off your plate. That way you never have to worry about something happening at a crucial time when you need to make something happening, like an important transaction.
Exactly, mate. So I think we leave it there. It's a pretty dry topic. It's not exactly exciting or sexy to talk about, but as a bit of public service announcement in terms of, people need to do this stuff. It's now part of Expat Life. You can add it to the list of other nonsense things we have to go through. But you don't have the luxury or the leisure of being able to walk to a branch. So heed those emails, take action, and make sure everything's kicking along well.
Sounds good. Thanks for tuning in, guys, for another episode. See you on the next episode. Thanks, Brett.
Thanks, James. See you later, guys.